Okay, salutations and hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Cleaning and Restoring. In this episode, we're going to be doing three different types of Nintendo cartridges. We're going to be doing an N64 cartridge, an SNES cartridge, and an NES cartridge. Now I'll be doing Tetris, Wheel of Fortune, and Army Men Air Combat. No really reason that I chose these games. These have actually already been cleaned a while ago by me. And the reason I chose these types is because any other game cartridge, other than the three that I have here, it's pretty much the same as the other ones. So that's why I chose these three. Nintendo ones are basically the same, however, the N64 one's different. They're all slightly different in their own way, obviously. And, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be doing a lot of talking in the beginning. So if you look at the bottom in the description, there's a timestamp, and each timestamp shows you where to go to see the start of each, cleaning and restoring, obviously. So, I'll tell you right now, I'm starting with the N64. So, these two things on the side of the screen, right here and right here, if you're wondering, they're just actually little, screwdriver bit things, and I have them here so that you are able to, or not so you are able to, so I'm able to see where you guys can and can't see. So I don't, take the N64 cartridge and put it way over here, saying, oh, look at this. It's just easier for me. So, before I start even taking anything apart, let me state that you do need a special screwdriver called a game bit screwdriver. You can only get these online, sadly. You can't buy these in hardware stores. They're not really expensive, though. I got 2 bits for $10, which isn't that bad, considering how, hard it is to find these bits. So really, it's not that bad, but you do need them to take these apart. Without this, I wouldn't even try, because if you do somehow manage to get them out, there's no way you're going to be able to get the screws back in. So, without further ado, let's start. And I'm going to start with the N64 one, because this is probably actually the most complicated of the three, in my opinion. So, there's only 2 screws, right here and right here. And I'm sorry, I know you guys hate this, but I will be taking the screws out on video. There's not that many screws, so it's not that bad compared to, whether I was doing a console or something. Alright, so there's 1 screw. And you can just set these aside. I'm not sure if you can mix match them, if I could put N64 screws in the SNES one. I wouldn't try that, but if you're an experimenter, go right ahead. I don't really care. It's your choice. Alright, so once you get the 2 screws out, you can set those aside and set your screwdriver aside. You will also, for this one only, I'm pretty sure, I don't remember the inside of the SNES that well, but I know for a fact that in this one, you will need a Phillips head screwdriver also to really take it apart, but you don't need one necessarily. So, after you get the 2 screws out, there are 2 clips down here, not really clips, but hooks more or less down here by the actual game itself, and so you're going to have to lift up where the screws were and then push downward this way so that it unhooks and it will come apart like this pretty easily. There's probably going to be a little bit of dirt and dust in yours, but really nothing much. So you're left with something like this. Now, as you can see, this section right here, this metal sheathing, doesn't want to come out. And if I wanted to wash this other half, I would have to take out these 2 Phillips head screws. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Take out one. Whoops, that doesn't want to come out. And take out the other. It's pretty simple, honestly. These cartridges were never made to be complicated. They were just made to be complicated to get into. So once you get the screws out, you can lift up on this whole kit and caboodle right here. And with a little bit of maneuvering, it should come out. It's not going to be too easy to get out, but it should come out on its own. And now you have 3 pieces in your hand. You have 2 RF shields, which are just pieces of metal that look like this. And you have the game itself. In the game itself, you can also take this little black piece off. And that's pretty much it. So, upon washing this, there's really not much you can do to it. All you can do is, take a Q-tip and, rub the surface down to get dust off, and maybe spray, Windex or some sort of cleaner on it and clean this off, but then immediately dry it off with the other side. Other than that, there's really not much you can do to this, so carefully set it aside because you don't want to bend any of these little things on the back, because those are very delicate. So, carefully setting that aside. Basically, all you're going to do is, you're going to take all the plastic parts, and metal parts, which is everything except the game. So that means you can wash these 2 RF shields, you can wash both halves of the cartridge itself, and you can wash the plastic little piece right here that holds it in place. And so I'm not actually going to wash everything, but I'm going to do a little bit of a cut in the video for you guys, so I will be back on how to put it back together right now. Okay, this is now my 4th time recording this, and I'm pretty sure I got it right. So what you have to do is take all your electronical pieces and put them aside for right now. And you're going to take the top half of the cartridge, which looks like this, the one that has the game itself label, not the one that has the classic label on the back. You want this one. You're going to take it and put it face down, obviously. And you're going to take the metal piece that has the smaller of the two holes in it. You can see here's the two metal pieces you could have. This is the one you want, and this is what you don't want. So you're going to put it face down like that, and it should fit relatively snug with a little bit of maneuvering. You're going to take the brain, or this piece, take the piece of plastic, and you'll see on each side there's a little notch sticking out. You want the one that has the tiny little loop in it almost to be facing this side. So you're going to put it on, make sure these black boxes are facing up, and you're going to drop this into place. Again, this may also take a little bit of wiggling to get it right. I may have put the black piece on wrong. It's hard to judge which way it goes on. Okay, yeah, the black piece goes on the opposite way I told you guys. Sorry about that. And then you're going to take the other piece of metal, drop it back into place. And this last metal piece is the one that always doesn't want to fit on right, because it's almost designed to be bent into place, if that makes sense. Then you're going to take your two Phillips head screws, put them in, and screw everything down. And the pieces should fall into place, and the screws should, whoops, the screw bit came out with it. The screws should fit snugly back together. It shouldn't be too much of a issue to put them back together. Like I said, the reason I started with the N64 one is because it actually is the hardest of these three, believe it or not, even though it's the smallest. So once it's screwed back in place, make sure you do this like that, like I am. Line up the hooks like this, and then fold it into place. You don't want to try to drop it into place because you could break the hooks. I've done that on an N64 game before. And also, those hooks breaking is one of the main reasons that N64 cartridges rattle. So then you're just going to easily put these two top game screws back in. Really nothing fancy here, just screwing them back into place. And if I don't know if I said this in the beginning. I know I said you need the screwdriver, but you need the screwdriver for all three. And I know it sucks because you can't find these in that many places, but you need it. So on to the SNES game, which I'm doing Wheel of Fortune, because this is the only SNES game I have, but it's a really good one at that. So there's two screws, and they're on the front at the bottom. You're going to remove those just like you did for the N64 game. And this one has hooks as well. However, they are at the top of the game by the end label, I guess is the term. Whoops, I almost just broke my game by whacking it with a screwdriver. So once you get those unscrewed, you're going to open it the opposite way we did with the N64 one. Take the side that had the screws off first, and then slide it out of the hooks. And you're like, wow, this is the most simplistic thing ever. Literally, all you have to do is open it, pick this thing up. This is almost the exact same thing as an N64 cartridge, as you notice. And basically, all you do is wipe this off with a Q-tip, like I said for the N64 one. Clean these with soap and water because they're just plastic, but be careful you don't mess up this label. And then you put it back together, which is literally what we just did. And if you forget how it was already, these black things face down on the smooth part. You can see there's two halves, and one has bumps on it. This one is smooth. You want the black things facing down on the smooth part. And you gotta drop it into place just right. Put this back on, making sure you line up the hooks before you try to put it back together, and then you just put the two screws in. It's that simple. This is one of the easiest, most simplistic game cartridges there is. And the NES is almost the exact same thing, but I'll do a tutorial on it anyway because someone might be confused, or someone might have skipped over this to get straight to the NES one, and that's fine. That's exactly what the things in the description are there for, so you can skip over these. But moving right along onto the last cartridge, and that is the Tetris for the NES, but obviously this works with any NES game. You're going to go to the back, and there's actually 3 screws in this one, but there's also game screws, because they didn't want you breaking into these things and trying to mod them, or messing it up so you could get your money back, like a warranty thing. That's why they put these fancy screws on here. So it'd be really hard for people like me to take tools and break into them. And these screws are actually silver. I'm not sure why, because most NES games are not silver. They're actually bronze. So I'm going to gather up 3 screws and set those aside. And then this one does have hooks. They're at the top right here. You're going to do the same thing. Lift up at the bottom and pull away. And it's almost the exact same thing, honestly. I knew it was going to be almost the same thing, but I figured I'd warn you, I guess is the term. Now the inside of this thing is roached. It's very, like, stained, but I can't get that off, really, in all honesty. So you just lift out the game itself, which is right here. If you somehow manage to shove this into an NES, into the 72-pin connector, it'd probably read this and still be able to play without all this. But that's a horrible idea. You'd probably ruin Tetris, and you could ruin your NES too. So you set that aside, and you can clean this off with a Q-tip and cleaner. You take the 2 halves, and you run them under water and soap. Just remember, be careful of the label, because this could probably fall off really easily. Then you put it back together. And if you've forgotten, just like I said for the SNES one, these black things face down on this side, and this is the side that has the game logo on it. The black things face down. Take the other half and make sure you go hooks first, not screw side first. Put it back together and put the 2 screws back in. Or sorry, the 3 screws back in. And like I said, for some reason the N64 one is the most complicated, even though it's the newest one. It actually took me 4 different recordings to put it back together correctly. The first 3 times I started on the wrong side and the screws wouldn't fit back together, and I was really confused because there were no screw holes on that side. And it was just a rough time, honestly. But that's what happens when I'm stupid, and that's very often. So that's basically it on cleaning and restoring NES, SNES, and N64 game cartridges. If there's anything you want to see me clean and restore, here's options that you can choose from. Right now I can do a Wii or a GameCube controller. Those are your 2 options, so tell me down in the comments which one you want to see next. The Wii is really complicated, but I could do it. It's not that bad. I've done it to my friends before. So on that note, thank you everyone for watching, and if you liked it, please leave a like or subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'll see you guys next time.